Thank you very much for attending my session. I will be talking about the initiatives to improve web performance across Yahoo Japan. And I am Hamada. So hello again, everybody. So I am Hamada from Yahoo Japan CTO office. I am the technical lead for development in the web domain of video services. In addition, as the 11th and 12th black belt in the web front-end area, I'm promoting activity to enhance the front end throughout the company. So today, we will talk about our initiatives to improve web performance across all Yahoo Japan services. Starting with the results. This shows the percentage of Yahoo Japan services that are faster than the benchmark competitor services. When we visualize the win rate for the services that we focus on, we were able to increase the rate from 62.1 before to 83.3% after the implementation. So 83% Yahoo is faster. These are the search console screens for Yahoo Japan Movies and Yahoo Japan Chiebukuro. So you can see that the green portion is increasing. So this means the ratio of good performance pages. And Chiebukuro, on the other hand, the yellow part, which need improvement, has decreased to almost zero. So we can visually see that the services are improving. So as you have seen from the results, I will speak about this agenda. First, why we did this initiative and what we did. And number two, how we approach this in the entire company. So we would like to entertain questions at the end. So please feel free to ask any questions if you have. First, the background. As far back as 2021, this announcement was made by Google. Core Web Vitals will also be an indicators that influence Google search rankings. So this means a score will impact the Google search results. So this means that the performance, a value based on experience, has been added to the index for determining the importance of a page. So this means the importance of UX will increase in the web. So in the future web services will be required to be comfortable to operate as a matter of course. So if we are offered the same content, what services will we choose? Of course, we will choose the page we are comfortable with if the content is the same. However, at the pre-launch stage, some of the Yahoo Japan services had not yet improved, and our experience in some services, our experience were worse compared to competitors. So we wanted to provide operability that enables users to achieve objectives quickly and without waiting time. So because we use Yahoo Japan services every day, I thought if we offer better services, the users will use our services longer. So that is why we launched the company-wide initiatives. Next, details of the improvements. Yahoo's Japan services are numerous. There are more than 50 major ones alone. Therefore, we had to be creative in the way we did things. So to realize our efforts, we decided to break the project down into 4 sections. First is visualization. Second, knowledge sharing. Third, service improvements. And number 4, common platform improvements. So let's look at these one by one. First is performance visualization. So to start making improvements, you first need to know the current situation and identify the bottlenecks.
And in order to do that, we need to visualize performance status. So let's look at different data. So there are 2 types of performance or visualization. The first one is lab data, and another is field data. So the lab data was obtained under specific testing and network conditions. These are not figures expected by actual users and may not capture all problems that are occurring, but this is suitable for detailed analysis. Another is field data. The data is taken from the user applications. And it is not suitable to detect all the analysis, so it does not log all behavior, so it is not for detailed analysis. So lab data for Lighthouse CI and own data, and our own data and field data is analyzed with the Chrome UX report dashboard, so CROX. So fixed point observation of lab data made daily, but CRUX CROX aggregation is done monthly on a domain by domain basis. So let's look at one by one. So the visualization of lab data. This is the actual screen of Lighthouse here. So it is a specific fixed point observation of core web vitals score aggregation. And the graph is shown in this way so that the daily scores can be observed. This screen includes all services, and those would be available to all Yahoo Japan employees. An aggregation of the Lighthouse scores is very easy. Just sending such command will give you an aggregation. At Yahoo Japan, it covers multiple pages per services with daily measurement for a total of over 230 aggregate endpoints. It may be unusual to operate with so many Lighthouse CI. The Lighthouse CI options can be set in a variety of ways. We have included a setting that simulates a slow environment and sends metrics averaged over multiple runs. So that will give you a stabilized measurement and aggregation. Another is about field, so lab data aggregation. Just a simple measurement makes it difficult to verify comparisons with the benchmarks mentioned earlier. Therefore, we have processed the data obtained by Lighthouse CI and also provide a database that allows you to see the weekly transition of scores of Yahoo Japan services and benchmark services overlaid top of each other. And through this, you can make a comparison with other companies. The next is about visualization of field data. We use CROX for field data, as I mentioned earlier. So the characteristics of this includes is that the monthly as well as origin-based collection of the data is available. It is an excellent tool for understanding real scores as explained by actual users and by understanding overall services trends. The dashboard created has a filter function. By manufacturing the knob at the top, only services with poor values can be visualized. So if you change the scores, you will just focus on the red drawn services. So it is very obvious which services have bad numbers. And it's also our role to focus on our improvement efforts on bad services. The general process is to check the lab data to find the detailed issues per page and the field data to confirm the results of the improvements. So that's how visualization went. In order to continue it, it is also important to have a defined goal. We have defined the ideal status as follows: 2 goals. The first one is to maintain the scores of good on the core web vitals criteria. As we saw in the search console, there are various areas and you see various services. So increasing those areas is one of our target. And another is get superior scores against other services of the same type by other companies. That might be unique criteria for Yahoo Japan. So we want to provide a comparatively better user experience. So we included this quantitative qualitative perspective. Next is about the horizontal deployment or development of knowledge. So we have a goal as well as we have scores. So how should we improve? So by not doing knowledge sharing, we try to improve that. In the project decided to created a portal to consolidate knowledge for improvement as well as scores. So there can be some minor points for the improvement as well as the data visualized. This can be followed up through the links. And this would be also available to any employees. So the knowledge of ours, this initiative was preceded by news, Yahoo, as well as beauty initiatives. So these services have been already featured at Google I/O as well as Chrome Dev Summit. So the knowledge from such services can be applied to other services. And that knowledge gained from here would be registered at the portal site so that everybody can see it. And performance improvement must be implemented at many points. You see the left chart. So it takes some time depending on the performance as well as those who can be easily executed. And of course, we ask them to implement in services. However, the service situations vary widely. So there can be some services that are very busy. So we cannot make the request that we want such and such. However, this would not be very effective. Therefore, we try or prioritize the measurement that we made so that it can be easily executed as well as that would be very effective.
So looking at this picture, this corresponds to the right bottom quadrant. So the low cost and highly effective, we prioritize on these actions. And such as these. For example, change the order of loading resources by importance, compressed delivery, and reduce layout shifts in the first view, and delay loading of scripts that monopolize the main thread, and lazy loading image in iframe. And for example, 1, 2, and 5 are relatively easy to implement. So if you have forgotten to do the configuration, maybe you should check. So we do not, so there are many measures, but we are only prioritizing on some of them. So it's not necessary to do everything. What is important is to concentrate on the potential bottlenecks and solve those. Next is service improvements. So we have aggregated this type of knowledge. But just deploying and spreading the knowledge will not lead to improvement. So if we do the actual service, a module might be managed by a different department, and maybe there might be some work which needs to be done in a cross-departmental manner, and specialized knowledge might be needed. And so these type of complex requests come from each service. So the improvement does not advance very quickly. So we decided the work group will prioritize and make proposal based on the priority. So each service was the project listed up the items, and we found the most effective ones and made sure that those were proposed. This is the screen where the analysis was actually presented to each service. Left top is the actual challenge. So that is the proposal saying this part is the bottleneck. On the right, you have the priority. So what will be the impact or the effect on the service if this bottleneck is covered? And this is shown in 3 stages. Now, this one is red, so priority is high. And on the right, you have the details. That is actually how to make the improvement. And on the right, you see the progress status. So this is the service side responding on their status of the improvement. Like these, by prioritizing each item, this can really give a signal to the service team who is busy to give them exactly the idea on what to do. So let's look at some specific suggestions that we made. For example, for service, so this is a proposal to service where the loading of the initial page is very slow, and the service where you can't really scroll quickly. To these services, we suggested lazy loading of modules below the first view. And another proposal was delayed loading of scripts for analysis. Analytics tool, for example, is not necessary for the initial page. So by reading it in a little bit later, you can reduce the bottleneck. Number 3 is reduce the bundle size. For example, for Lodash, large number of bundles might arise, so we propose to reduce that. And next is enable tree shaking of configuration file. So the bundle size will go down for extraneous pages if you apply tree shaking to the config file. And this is an example of lazy loading of modules, and you can divide this into 4 steps. For modules with lowest priority, request callback, and you read it in after the page is loaded. So modules which has nothing to do with the initial page, you can reduce them. And if the browser implementation moves forward, you can do it in a different thread using workers. And these are suggestions for services where images are important. So there are many services where a big carousel appears on the page. So to such pages, do not apply delayed loading to LCP images, and also load them first with priority hints and meta tag prelog. And also use SRC set attributes to deliver the optimal image size for each device. And SRC set is an attribute which is provided by the web. And the initialization process of the carousel is not done first. So carousel implementation is difficult. When you first load, when you do the carousel processing first, the loaded image might not come up. So that if you can load it separately, you'll be able to display the page faster. And by making these proposals, the services could improve more smoothly. And lastly, common platform improvements. To streamline development, Yahoo Japan provides libraries and platforms that can be used across the company. These platforms and library, if you improve them, this will be an improvement for the entire company, so the improvements will be more efficient. And we improve mainly on these 4 points. First is the cache control header optimization. Commonly used scripts and CSS are delivered by CDNs. And if they are properly versioned, the cache times can be extended to maximum. And many of the resources provided company-wide had a uniformly short cache time by default. So we adjusted this to be as long as possible. And next is not using document write. Some old ad scripts were written using the document write process. So document write was used. Document write is a very old method. And this is an MDM document. And document write blocks the mentoring in the middle. So browser optimization will be blocked. So we made sure that there's no impact to ads. The process was changed to insert the DOM asynchronously. And the ads has this problem too. So where there is a shift in layout in the ads, maybe some of you saw that, and we also improved on that. Ads, depending on where they are placed and the situation in which they are displayed, the content of the ads are different. So this means that some ads may be shifted on a large screen. For example, left-hand side, this is an ad of 1 unit of height, but sometimes the actual displayed ad might be double the height. And what we did so this is what we did.
So when multiple ads are delivered, we try to set up the minimum size so that we can reduce the variance of layout. For example, there are two types of sizes available, and the 1 unit of ad should be secured as the minimum size. Then the size of the layout can be reduced. And if it is set in this way, CLS, the impact of layout onto the layout can be reduced to half. And another case, the layout can happen on common headers as well. So under Yahoo Japan's header, there is a campaign module displayed. So in this case, this type of campaign module, this is a module that can be displayed, and we are not sure how this is going to be displayed or not. So we need to try to make an improvement and made some investigation. And we understand that there are more people who are exposed to the modules. So we put this way status as a default, and not inserted is recognized as non-default. So in this way, in various organizations, we are trying to coordinate for the improvement. And based on those activities, I'd like to talk about how to work in larger organizations. As I mentioned earlier, there are many services provided from Yahoo Japan. As mentioned earlier, the number of major services exceeds 50. So such services actually in operation face many challenges. And what we can do from our position outside is to support such activities. Therefore, many services can make improvement without hesitation and with less time. And the working group is to support such activities. So to summarize the processes for improvement proposals, this diagram, you can refer to this diagram. So if you would like to make some improvements, the data should be visualized as well as you would like to know the paths to be improved, and also set up priorities to understand what will be the best area to start improvement. So from the point of the services, you can understand the improvement as well as to deploy those. That's how we try to execute our processes. And one of the target when we make up a project is it should not be a temporary project. Such kind of improvement should be always continuous type of effort. Therefore, we think that project is a thing to make up a culture of improvement. And if we can create an organization that can improve automatically, autonomously, without our support, this kind of activity will not be necessary. That's why I wrote a word of culture here. So the establishing a culture for the improvement is our final goal. Then how can we create such a culture-based environment? First, so we think that there are 2 points here. Number one, that is to increase the performance or knowledge-based baseline. So building up a fast service is really a series of best practices. So how many best practices do you know, and how can we build up such best services or best practices? That will be the best way to improve the fastest services further. And the second point, that is to create an environment in which performance can be improved without conscious effort. Take an example of Next.js. For example, this provides a library for optimizing delayed loading of images. So by utilizing such libraries, without effort by users, the users can optimize it. So in this way, I believe that an environment in which developers can accumulate best practices performance without being aware of them is a category we should maintain. So, what are we going to do on next? In the previous slide, so the improvement of the performance and set up an environment that enables improvement without conscious effort. That was the point that I mentioned. And we are trying two things based on this concept. The first one is to ensure that scores can be tied to business metrics and regularly obtained, as well as automatically. In order to clearly obtain the impact of the improvements, it's essential to set up individual conditions and conduct dedicated A/B tests. So we did several ways in services. However, we didn't associate to business criteria. And in order to associate that, service side also need do some implementation. So what we are doing right now is that without asking any actions on the side of the services, business performance can be also relatively known. So this is linked to the company-wide log system, and in this way we are trying it. Another one is the optimization for BF cache. So BF cache is a browser optimization that activates the caches and displays the page faster when the browser goes back and forward. So Chrome in the future is to activate BF cache. So this forward and backward, the importance is increasing because the ratio of that action is higher. Based on the Yahoo Japan's analysis, 50% of the request is about forward cache. So if it is optimized and displayed quickly, then users can enjoy the high-speed performance without any additional effort. And we are handling this issue. In order to activate this BF cache, unload event handler needs to be removed, and also cache optimization is required, and also log optimization is also required. So we need several improvements in order to activate this BF cache. So together with third-party vendor script, we would like to normalize the log utilization as well as activate such functions. So if it is realized, then developers do not have to make any additional effort to increase the speed of page transitions. So in the end, I would like to mention that there is such kind of message in our top page of our project. This was given by Kawabe-san, Mr. Kawabe, the then president at that time. So he says that please continue the crazy focus on display speed into the culture of our organization. I really feel that this is a wonderful word. And in this project, I would like to embody this concept. Thank you very much for your attention. Yahoo Japan will continue to strive to be an organization that provides services comfortable to operate as a standard. We look forward to your continued support for the slightly faster Yahoo Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hamada-san. From here, we will have Plus Talk, where we will invite a questioner to dig deeper into the content of the session. We also hope to incorporate questions from the audience as much as possible. If any of you have questions, please submit them using the question mark button at the bottom right of the screen. The questionnaire will be from LINE, Mr. Naoto Ikuno. So Ikuno-san, please briefly introduce yourself. Hello, I am front-end development of LINE Corporation. I am Naoto Ikuno. So Ikuno-san, what are your impressions on the session, and do you have any questions? Thank you for your presentation. I am very interested in performance improvement myself, so I'm eager to lead the document. The insight, you said that you could apply insights that you acquired to other services. So which are more the improvements which pertain to a certain service or more common improvements? So when we analyze the service, the common portion is very large. In most cases, there were improvement items which could be applied to multiple services. For example, increasing the speed and more advanced type of improvements tend to be service specific, but many of the items could be patterned to be made common.
So, Yahoo Japan film or some kind of things have been also based on the sharing that type of knowledge. Yeah, that's the case for Yahoo film, Japan film as well. And actually, the performance improvement that I mentioned is mostly largely affected by the improvement by layout shift change. So just changing or improving that layout shift factor dramatically actually affected the presentation. So by selecting based on priority, and if you find out appropriate service for the improvement, even with less effort, we understand that this can improve the performance very well. Thank you.
Next question. The low implementation cost and highly effective improvements you prioritized, you say, but that is not sufficient. So even if it's effective, there might be there are services where the implementation cost was high but effective. Yes, of course. For example, the script separation is an improvement that is quite challenging because carving out only some of the script, unless the original script made it easy to really cut out some parts, it will be difficult because this might entail some changes in the architecture, but that needed to be done. So in that case, we had the service work on it as a long-term project, or we set it to the side. We put it to the side to give priority to others, which can be done more easier.
When you read your blog, so winning rate was 70%. However, in your presentation, the winning ratio was improved to 83%, I think. So the rest of the extra winning rate. So is that because of the service improvement focused on that heavy portions? Yeah, thank you very much for checking my blog. Yeah, after I released the blog, there has been an improvement made. So that is why we were able to reach 83% over. But actually, the figure has been changing mostly daily. There are some times that we had bad performance, and also there is a case that the competitors have dramatically improved, which lowered our winning rate. So it's really a daily changing status. However, under such circumstances, at the time we measured, it was 83%. That was the truth of that.
I see. Thank you. Next question. So to build an organization which can improve by themselves without support, they need to be motivating. And also they need to build up the necessary resources for that. So how can you motivate the services and secure the resources? So we need the service side to take the time to make the improvements. So that's why it became a company-wide project. So because it's a company-wide project, the services can now use more time on this to try to improve services. People are busy, so the priority remains to be low in some parts. But for services with strong bottlenecks, we have them elevate the priority for improvement. So because it became a company-wide project, is it easier to elevate the priority? Yes.
Thank you very much. So I think we have a question from the audience. So as a result of the score improvement, what were the actual effects, so such as much more inflow or any other specific effects? So what about this question? Yes, there was. In the slide, I briefly mentioned it, so such as Yahoo, Yahoo News, Yahoo Japan News. As for those services, it was associated with the business benchmark, and we saw an improvement. In the case of Yahoo, the click CBR was 108%. So that was also a result. As for news, business metrics was also improved.
I see. So when the businesses see the metrics are going up, they can really feel the effect of the improvement. So it might be easier for them to increase the priority. So there's a virtual cycle seems to be forming here. Yes, we have been doing quite a lot of analysis. So if you increase this metrics, that increases another business metrics. So these type of correlation is becoming more visible. So we will continue to focus on the impact on the business metrics.
In our company, so we also check web vitals. But we do not associate as business metrics, but we are doing a company-wide effort, so it's wonderful.